Johann Sebastian Bach is a magnificent Baroque-era composer. He is revered through the ages for his work's musical complexities and stylistic innovations. Born in Eisenach, Thuringia, Germany on March 21, 1685, Bach came from a family of musicians, stretching back several generations. His father, Johann Ambrosius, worked as the town musician, and it is believed that he taught the young Johann to play the violin. At the age of 7, Bach went to school where he received religious instruction and studied Latin and other subjects. His Lutheran faith would influence his later musical works. By the time he turned 10, he found himself an orphan after the death of both of his parents. His older brother Johann Christoph, a church organist in Ohrdruf, took him in. His brother provided some further musical instruction for his younger brother and enrolled him in a local school. Bach stayed with his brother's family until he was 15 years old. Bach had a growing reputation as a great performer, and it was his great technical skill that landed him the position of the organist at the new church of Arnstadt. He was responsible for providing music for religious services and special events, as well as giving music instruction. An independent and sometimes arrogant young man, Bach did not get along well with his students and was scolded by the church officials for not rehearsing them frequently enough. Another is when he extended his leave of absence without prior authorization in order to learn about the artistry of the Lübeck organist Dietrich Buxtehude. In 1707, Bach was glad to leave Arnstadt for an organist position at the Church of St. Blaise in Mullhausen. His move, however, did not turn out as well as he had planned. Bach's musical style clashed with the church pastor. Bach created complex arrangements and had a fondness for weaving together different melodic lines. After a year there, Bach won the post of organist at the court of the Duke Wilhelm Ernest in Weimar. He wrote many church cantatas and some of his best compositions for the organ while working for the Duke. During his time at Weimar, Bach wrote Toccata and Fugue in D minor, one of his most popular pieces for the organ. He also composed a cantata Herz und Mund und Tat, or Heart and Mouth and Deed. One section of his cantata called Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring in English is especially famous. Late in 1713, Bach had the opportunity of getting another position in Halle, but the Duke raised his salary and he stayed there. On March 2, 1714, he became concertmaster with the duty of composing a cantata every month. On December 1, 1716, a musical director in Weimar died, and he was succeeded by his son. Bach presumably resented being passed over, and in due course, he accepted an appointment as musical director to Prince Leopold of Cothen, which was confirmed in August 1717. Duke Wilhelm, however, refused to accept his resignation. About September, a contest between Bach and the famous French organist Louis Marchand was arranged at Dresden. But Marchand avoided the contest by leaving Dresden a few hours before it should have taken place. By implication, Bach won. Perhaps this emboldened him to renew his request for permission to leave Weimar. At all events, he did so, but on such terms that the Duke imprisoned him for a month. A few days after his release, Bach moved to Cothen. About his personal life, few correspondence has survived to provide a full picture of Bach as a person, but the records do shed some light on his character. He was devoted to his family. In 1706, he married his cousin Maria Barbara Bach. The couple had 7 children together, some of whom died as infants. and while they were in Cothen, Maria Barbara died unexpectedly and was buried on July 7, 1720. On December 3rd, the next year, Bach married Anna Magdalena Wilken, daughter of a trumpeter at Weissenfels. They had 13 children. More than half of them died as children. Apart from his first wife's death, these first 4 years at Cothen were probably the happiest of Bach's life. He was on the best terms with the prince, who was genuinely musical, and in 1730, Bach said that he had expected to end his days there. Bach clearly shared his love of music with his children. From his first marriage, Wilhelm Friedemann Bach and Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach became composers and musicians. Johann Christoph Friedrich Bach and Johann Christian Bach, sons from his second marriage, also enjoyed musical success. As for his employer, Prince Leopold had a passion for music. He played the violin and often bought musical scores while traveling abroad. While at Cothen, Bach devoted much of his time to instrumental music, composing concertos for orchestras, dance suites, and sonatas for multiple instruments. He also wrote pieces for solo instruments, including some of his finest violin works. His secular compositions still reflected his deep commitment to his faith, with Bach often writing the initials I and J for the Latin In Nomine Jesu, or In the Name of Jesus, on his sheet music. But the prince married on December 11, 1721, and conditions deteriorated. The princess, described by Bach as an amusa, that is to say, opposed to the muses, required so much of her husband's attention that Bach began to feel neglected. He also had to think of the education of his elder sons, and he probably began to think of moving to Leipzig. As soon as the cantorate fell vacant with the death of Johann Kuhnau on June 5, 1722, Bach applied in December. But the post was offered to another prominent composer of the day. Even so, Bach gave a trial performance. And when the first choice withdrew, Bach was so deeply committed at Leipzig that although the princess had died on April 4th, he applied for permission to leave Cothen. This he obtained on April 13th, and on May 13th, he was sworn in at Leipzig. For his services, he was appointed honorary musical director of Cothen, and both he and Anna were employed there from time to time until the prince died on November 19, 1728. After getting the position, Bach signed a contract to become the new organist and teacher at St. Thomas Church. He was required to teach at the Thomas School as part of his position as well. With new music needed for services each week, Bach threw himself into writing cantatas. The Christmas Oratorio, for example, is a series of 6 cantatas that reflect on the holiday. Bach also created musical interpretations of the Bible using choruses, arias, and recitatives. These works are referred to his Passions, the most famous which is Passion according to Saint Matthew. By 1740, Bach was struggling with his eyesight, but he continued to work despite his vision problems. He was even well enough to travel and perform visiting Frederick the Great, the King of Prussia, in 1747. He played for the king, making up a new composition on the spot. Bach refined the piece and gave the king the musical offering. In 1749, Bach started a new composition called The Art of Fugue, but he did not complete it. He tried to fix his failing sight by having surgery the following year, but the operation ended up leaving him completely blind. Later that year, Bach suffered a stroke. He died in Leipzig on July 28, 1750. For about 50 years after his death, his music was neglected, but this was only natural. In the days of Haydn and Mozart, no one could be expected to take much interest in a composer who had been considered old-fashioned even in his lifetime, since his music was not readily available, and half of it, the church cantatas, was fast becoming useless as a result of changes in religious thought. during his lifetime, he was better known as an organist than a composer. Few of his works were even published during his lifetime. Still, Bach's musical compositions were admired by those who followed in his footsteps, including Amadeus Mozart and Ludwig van Beethoven. After 1800, the revival of Bach's music gained momentum. The German writer Johann Nicholas Forkel published a study of Bach's life and art in 1802 and acted as an advisor to the publishers Hofmeister and Kuhnel, whose collected edition began in 1801 but was cut short by the activities of Napoleon. By 1829, a representative selection of keyboard music was nonetheless available, although very few of the vocal works were published. His reputation received a substantial boost in 1829 when German composer Felix Mendelssohn reintroduced Bach's Passion according to St. Matthew. And since then, the continuous republications of his works and his music being played throughout Germany and through Europe and the world lives on. Today, Johann Sebastian Bach is considered one of the greatest Western composers of all time. Alright guys, I hope you learned something about the life of this great composer Johann Sebastian Bach. So on our next video, we will be visiting a museum dedicated to his life. While you can learn more about the last church where he worked, the Thomaskirche, you can click the link below. Until next time, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Bye! So guys, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment.
Hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell, hit the bell. Come on guys, hit the bell.
For notifications.
And don't forget to share.
And like.